Where's Corey? He's gone.
Dead?
Hey, that's great. That's crazy. He knows ball here on March 24th. Corey not to my right, but Cam to my left. Soren in his alley. JD in the fake island of Staten for this late March edition of He Knows Ball. March Madness has already ruined this month for me.
That's probably where Corey is.
March Madness has been March sadness for me, man. I'm expecting all these upsets, and there's not been upsets. And also, my bracket is on fire, and not in a good way. More like a forest fire.
Yeah, I had probably the best start to March Madness that I will ever have in my entire life, and then it's kind of just
it's fizzled out.
It is, yeah, luck has ran out.
You know, I had a lot of faith in my bracket. Once I saw the 3 perfect brackets that were left, I'm like, oh, one of them had the same exact Final Four as me. I'm like, you know what? I feel really good. And then UConn lost, and now I want to take my ball and go home. So let's just say I am in shambles, to say the least. Yeah, JD, how's your bracket holding up, bud?
My bracket's actually not terrible. I usually don't make it this far with a good percentage and like point wise, but of course my team lost, so I can't get everything I want, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but yeah, my bracket's holding up still somehow. I don't know, but it is.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and pull up our group real quick. Soren Fart Svanson is the name of my bracket. Show groups. I'm in 5th place of 6 people, so I guess I guess that's something. Biggs, you had a tough second round, man.
Oh,
On my bracket. I'm not really sure. I apologize to everybody who believed.
So as we look, I'm looking quickly. Jarek Swanson Analytics is first. That is Corey. He's also projected to have the most points as well. Has up to 1770. JD, you're in second. Slightly above Cameron. Then we got Soren with 430. I'm at 410. And Biggsy is in the cellar with 390. However, even though Biggs is behind me, I do have the least amount of I have the least amount of maximum points. So I do need a lot of things to go right. It's the same thing every year. Last year I was so excited for March Madness. First day, bracket explodes. Auburn loses. I don't want to play. We'll get more into some of the March Madness, but as we always do, we're going to kick it off a little bit of trivia. Does he know ball?
Does he know ball? All right. Well, this has been quite the depressing March. So, one thing that I guess we're all not that good at so far. I mean, most of us probably still alive yet, but who is the current NCAA team men's with the most national championships for men's basketball?
Duke.
No.
is it not UCLA?
It is UCLA. 11-time champions. Congratulations.
Well, too bad they're eliminated, so it won't be 12 times.
Yeah, they couldn't replicate it this year.
Yeah. But yeah, let's quickly go through some of the not so madness. There's been such a lack of upsets this year. You know, when we were making the brackets, and I think Soren had like 3 number 1 seeds to the Final Four, and I'm like, Soren, we know that never happens. The way it's trending right now, it's going to happen. It's been very lack of madness, to say the least. I mean, Auburn's in the Final Four, which was expected. How about Michigan making it through? I do want to give them their flowers. I was very high on UC San Diego, and I kind of ruled out Michigan really making a run. How about them, dude? Sweet 16 after finishing dead last in the Big Ten last year. And I'm not going to say like it's an easy game against Auburn, but it definitely is a game that they could win. You know, right now there's 7.5 point underdogs, but
I think they did good enough. I was talking to my dad a lot about this weekend. Michigan, especially in the UC San Diego game, really did not come out guns blazing at all. Kind of treated it like opening season, like not great basketball over round. Not to give UC San Diego any flowers because they did push them to the very end, but they definitely turned it around against A&M though. I think A&M proved that they can maybe somehow push into that Elite 8 category, but it's going to be not going to be easy.
It's definitely tough against this Auburn team. Other side of the bracket, we got Ole Miss and Michigan State. I think Michigan State did what was expected. They had a tough game against New Mexico, which I think was expected. But yeah, they played really well. Ole Miss worked their way through. UNC gave them a decent little run. I was never really high on Iowa State. Duke, by no surprise, did what Duke does. Or Mount St. Mary's, dude. Just like kicked into the earth.
Forever in history, though.
Arizona battling through too. They had the easy win against Akron. They had a tough game against Oregon. I was really high on this Oregon game going into that matchup. But, Arizona still dancing on. I hate BYU. BYU ruined me. I did say to John at one point, I think it was either like Friday or something, that BYU playing or VCU playing from behind was never going to be a game that they would win. They would have had to take a lead, especially with BYU's ability to shoot the three. It does lead to a very interesting Sweet 16 matchup, though, because BYU put up 80 points against one of the better defenses in college basketball, and they put up 91 against Wisconsin in how Corey would describe it, his favorite word, a barn burner. So we got BYU and Alabama, two of the better scoring teams in college basketball facing off. So that's going to be a very exciting matchup. That's one of the few games where, when it comes to the top seeds being in it, I'm not upset about it. Switch down to the other side. Florida and Maryland. Maryland was on upset watch last night for the longest time. It came down to a last second shot that they won.
They won off the buzzer beater.
Yeah.
It was pretty ugly. Yeah, it was. They got the jumper off, but it was not pretty.
Yeah.
JD, what were you about to say?
No, nothing. I was about to say what you were going to say. It was like the ugliest shot I've ever seen. Somehow
Yeah,
win it.
I was. Yeah, your text from last night.
Well, it is just also, even though they were on the verge of being upset, that is kind of where the madness comes in. And I mean, it's not the way they wanted to win, but it's a win all the same. And hitting a shot of that magnitude could definitely help propel them against Florida. It is also, I am very interested to see, with the amount of time that is like that they're going to have off, with having, a 3-4 day break, how that's going to affect some of these teams that are riding hot. Other side, one of the teams who could be riding hot is Arkansas. John, unfortunately, they knocked off your boys. But, I will say, it was two of the most legendary coaches in college basketball going head-to-head. I would love to see this matchup again, whether it's next year in the tournament or if, they scheduled it during the regular season. I don't care. I want to see Arkansas and St. John's go head-to-head again just because of Pitino and Calipari.
I don't.
And then
One team that they'll face that they can never beat. But whatever. I can't.
One of the team they're facing in the Sweet 16, Texas Tech, beat up. I don't really beat up, but they beat UNC Wilmington, and they beat Drake. Why do they have to beat Drake, dude?
I know, dude. Drake and McNeese both letting me down.
Apparently, Amir Arakan might be going. I think he's following the coach to NC State. I think that coach is going to
transferring.
He might be transferring.
Is that the first time a transfer portal has ever hit for a team manager?
Yeah, probably. He's a trailblazer. Houston took care of business, beat Gonzaga in the second round in a close game. McNeese did beat Clemson. I think the score is a lot closer than what the game actually was. I think it was very one-sided in favor of McNeese. But this Purdue team, it's just like not fun. It's not a fun Purdue team. Purdue's never been a fun team, but at least it's like, they had Zach Edey. They're boring.
Yeah, but at least this year they've really took on the odds. I mean, I know Corey was the mastermind behind coining the term that they are the Dallas Cowboys of college basketball.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I guess they proved everyone wrong. I guess a lot of people were trying to prey on their downfall this entirety of March. So kind of what to expect.
Yeah. And then bottom side of that, we got Tennessee and Kentucky. Again, not really like doing what they were anticipated to do. There's just such a like the fact that there is only one double-digit seed, and like you can be like, oh, there is a 6 seed who knocked off a 3. That's not like trailblazing. Like all the 1 seeds are still in. All but one of the 2 seeds are still in. 2 of the 3s are in. Like it's so boring. The lowest seed is a 10, and it's just one of them. And it's like a 10 that shouldn't be. Like John, I think you can agree with this that like if Arkansas wasn't in the SEC, they're not a 10 seed.
John Downey dropped out, but
Ah.
he 100%. I 100% agree with you.
You hear me?
Yeah, we
you're
got
back.
you
Yeah,
now,
we're
buddy.
back.
I had to leave for a second because I couldn't hear anything. But
Yeah.
yeah, I totally agree. In a normal year, also they were really badly injured for the
Yeah.
entire season. They would probably be like a 5 seed, 4 seed. I forgot who I was saying this to, but if they were in the Big East, they would have won this year.
That's what
Like
that's what I'm
regardless if
saying.
one or been the top.
Yep, John disappeared.
That wasn't John. That was me this time.
Cam disappeared.
Everything's going wrong this morning, just like my brackets.
It's lovely. All right, well, while you try to get that situated, but yeah, no, it is really just like a boring year of college of March Madness, which sucks because like the teams that are still in it are like great teams, but we just don't have that insanity. John, I don't know what keeps happening, man. We're having a tough go of it today.
Yeah, can you guys hear me at
Yeah,
all?
we
or-
got you. Yeah, Cam was the one who dropped out there.
My phone dropped internet or something.
But I mean, like,
Oh,
I'm so bored. Again, I'm gonna root for the teams that are left. I'm still gonna root for Tennessee to win it all, just so I'm right in that sense. But yeah, no, I'm not excited for March Madness, which sucks that it's after the first weekend and it's just like, it's there.
Well, Kentucky, I think, not to count out Kentucky, but I think Tennessee has the higher chance of winning this outcome. I think Kentucky really just hasn't been tested all that much. So maybe if they get an actual matchup, I mean, there is a couple of days off, so maybe both of them need a tight contested game to bring out the best of both teams, and maybe we can have a run out of either one of them.
Yeah, I think the couple days off will be a nice reset. Because then if we get some, iron sharpens iron type games, these like really tightly contested. Look, it's fine that there's top seeds. It is like we're gonna have to accept it either way. But if we're getting these highly seeded games, I want to see great. I want to see great teams. Like I want to see great games. I want to see, if Tennessee, Kentucky, I want it to come down to the last minute and a half of the game to decide a winner. I don't want it to be, Tennessee's up by 15 for the entire second half. Like no, like I want to see these games that are coming down to the wire.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the Maryland game is the first thing. Like it's a domino effect, and then all these games start having that. Because otherwise, this is going to be one of the most boring March Madnesses, which sucks.
Yeah. What's the out like? Take your bracket out of the equation right now. What is your most likely, like, I think your best overall outcome for fans everywhere to be able to enjoy? Who do you think should be the Final Four?
I think Duke has to be in it.
Yeah.
I think just having Cooper Flag, that needs to be that. I think for the pure fact of having a, quote, underdog, I think Arkansas would have to come out of that region.
Maryland, Arkansas, and the Elite Eight.
Maryland, Arkansas would be great. I think that's the best Elite Eight you could have. I think either of those teams going to the Final Four at this point would be great. It's going to be Tennessee or Houston, realistically. Obviously biased. I have Tennessee, but I think either way, it's kind of expected to have a defensive juggernaut come out of there. And then I like Michigan State a lot.
Michigan State, Michigan would be a great Elite Eight game.
Yeah, I think for entertainment value, I think Michigan getting out of there would be huge just for like the storyline. But yeah, it's a lot of really good teams, which isn't a bad thing. But it's not like, oh, we have, the Sister Jean inspired Loyola Chicago. We have, who else has been crazy? We have
Aura.
Aura McNeese. We have Dougie McBucket. Or we have Dougie Buckets from St. Peter's. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think the only thing that brought a smile to my face so far this March Madness, besides like McNeese winning that first game, was seeing Jimmer Fredette in the stands for the BYU games.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, they're like all of those type of, legacy type players, the guys you look back on, hey, remember this guy? I don't think there's really none of that left.
It's a bunch of players who are.
It's a bunch of teams and players who are expected to be in this situation.
They're not even that. They're going to be in the CBA next year. like majority of these seniors, like all
Yeah.
just playing Chinese basketball.
All right, this is making me depressed. We're gonna move on from March Madness. The MLB season, apart from the Tokyo series, does kick off on Thursday. Thank the Lord. I'm so happy the off season is over. So we're gonna go over a little bit of MLB. Corey obviously not being here, I'll kind of read off his stuff for him. But we're gonna talk about who we have as our biggest breakouts and what we want to see from our team. So I'm gonna start with Corey's because I love the player he picked to break out. I think he kind of had a breakout last year, but I can definitely see how the anticipation is. It's Lawrence Butler, an outfielder for the now Sacramento Athletics. He was phenomenal. Second half of the season really scorched earth. He did get sent down earlier in the season. And he hit 302 with 20 homers and 49 ribbies across his final 73 games of the season. I love the pick. I do have him on my. I think I have him on my fantasy team. If I don't, I'm be upset because he's one of my favorite players in baseball right now. He also got like a fat extension for a half a good season, and fat extension. It's like $9 million per year over 8. But it's great that the A's are finally starting to spend money, and Butler is one of the guys they're spending money on. So I have a ton of faith in him breaking out. John, who is your breakout player for this upcoming season?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Trey Sweeney from the Tigers, who will be the full-time shortstop now. He had a little taste of the big leagues last year after getting traded for Jack Flaherty, and now Jack Flaherty's back. So that's a terrific job from the Tigers, but that's besides the point. But Trey Sweeney, I think, with a full year now, and he's been told he's a starter, which I think as a athlete, if once you're told you're in a certain spot, your mindset changes in a sense of like you're comfortable, but you know that you have to perform to keep the spot. And I think that's going to be a big thing for him, that he's just going to be able to relax, play a good defense, which he always does, and then the bat, I think, will come along as long as the year goes on, especially for a Tigers team that could very much win the division. So it's going to be up to him. I see him breaking out. I see a potential all-star here.
I
really like that.
John. Cam loves that take, John.
No, I do. I think, especially with like the position that he was thrown into, like especially we got to realize where the Tigers were at coming into August. What was it, 1% chance of making the playoffs? Maybe
they were sellers at the deadline, which is crazy.
And like he really just wasn't. He wasn't really there. And then like the playoffs started to happen, and he's like you said, like he was swinging at pitches, but like he wasn't making the contact that was necessary. But he wasn't necessarily throwing the games away, especially on defense. I think that series against the Guardians, I would say he was probably one of the most consistent players out there, even if he wasn't hitting the ball. Like he wasn't the one making the errors. I think it was more or less guys like Riley Green and other Tigers players like that who maybe just weren't in a position like that before. But I think if the Tigers, especially with how many young players they have going up, I think he's the one that people need to keep an eye on, keep watching.
100%.
I'm excited for it. No more Javi Baez.
No more
Javi Baez swinging at pitches in the opposing dugout.
He'll be in Grand Blanc or wherever their minor league team is at.
So I'm between two. I really am between two. I'll give both, and I'll give my reasoning. So the first one is Michael Toglia of the Colorado Rockies. Now there is a wee bit of bias because I think it was MLB The Show 22. I loved his card. So that's when I first learned about this kid. With the thing with Rockies players, and John, you can attest to this as well. The thing with Rockies players is they usually always hit well at Coors Field. Toglia has the opposite effect. He hit 18 of his 25 home runs last year were away from Coors Field. So you're telling me that a guy who already hits tanks was struggling to hit tanks in his home ballpark where every baseball basically is a home run? So I feel like he's due for, might be a little bit of a ballsy take, but I think you get 35 this year. His big issue also is he does chase a lot of stuff out of the zone, and he is very dead red on fastballs. So if he is able to make that adjustment, he's able to make an adjustment, focus up on, honing in on the zone, be able to do something with pitches that aren't just fastballs or fastball variants. I think Toglia is set up to be, for a Rockies organization that really has nothing going for him, one of the few bright spots. The other one I have, and I think everyone is hoping for this, is Jackson Holliday with the amount of hype that surrounded him last year, he really struggled. He really struggled in the show. But he did have his moments, and you could tell that his eye has always been there. Once he got caught up, he really did struggle. But he definitely, as the season went on, he got more comfortable at the plate. He started finding a little bit more of his power. And now with the hype of, oh, he's 20 years old getting called up. Like, what is he going to be? With that kind of in the rearview mirror now, he can focus on, hey, do what I can do. I don't need to be the best hitter in the world. I'm in a lineup surrounded by guys like Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Jordan Westberg, Colton Cowser, like a lot of good bats that like the pressure shouldn't be on him as much. I really like both of them to break out. I don't know. I have more faith in Holiday than I do Toglia, just because cutting out the strikeouts is going to be really difficult for a guy who is as powerful as he is. But yeah, so those are my two picks. We'll move over to what we want to see from our teams. For Corey and the Blue Jays, he wants to see Mr. Bo Bichette bounce back with a really down year last year. Saying he is in a contract year, I can definitely see it happening. He wants to see Vladdy keep doing his thing. The same kind of boat, contract year, can definitely see him earning a $600, $700 million contract. Come the offseason, he wants to see Scherzer be the Scherzer of old. Injuries have obviously kind of ruined that of late. But I think there's still a little bit of magic in Mad Max. And the bullpen, he just wants to see not suck. They were brutal last year. Now, they did bring in Jeff Hoffman. They brought back Yimi Garcia. So they have a couple of guys who could help out with that. I think there might be a couple midseason acquisitions to help with that number. But we'll see where the Blue Jays season goes. JD, what do you want to see from your New York Mets?
Yeah, I just wanted to give Corey some hope, I guess we could say, if that's the word I'm looking for. I actually think that the Blue Jays can be a good team. It's just they have a lot of what ifs, and usually when that it doesn't work out, but you could see like my Mets last year, we had a ton of what ifs, and it worked. So I guess you could give that hope to Corey as like, all right, maybe you're hoping Max Scherzer is good. He could be. You don't know. I mean, you got to wait and see. But with this year's 2025 Mets, we all know they made the NLCS last year after a magical run in the second half of the season that I don't think any Mets fan will ever forget. I mean, I know it didn't end in a championship, but just the way it started with Jorge Lopez throwing his glove into the stands, getting cut the next day. Jose Iglesias coming up the week after that, and kind of the team just going on a run. Another unsung hero who's the starting catcher now, Luis Torrens. I know when they played the Phillies in London, he made a sick play at the plate and then got a double play to end the game against the Phillies. That I think was the turning point of the season, and people forget that. There was a lot of those little things that you look back on and be like, okay, this is why they became a winning team. And now I think they got through that part, and now the pressure is on. I would say they have the most pressure in the league, honestly. I wouldn't think many other teams that have more pressure than them, especially when you go out there and you get Juan Soto, the biggest prize in free agency, he was going to be fine. He's going to go in there, hit second every day, play right field, and just do his thing. But I do want to see a few different things that I think this team needs to do to get to that World Series level because the Dodgers got better as well. The Phillies aren't going anywhere. The Braves are all coming back from injuries. Those three teams right there are probably either even with the Mets or better, I would say, depending on everyone's opinion on that. But the first thing I want to see, of course, the top five in the lineup, the combination of Lindor, Vientos, Nimmo, Alonso, and Soto, all those guys are going to hit. We know that. But like, what is the rest of the lineup going to bring? Because it's going to be a mix of four different guys every day. But if they don't do anything, they're not going to score many runs after the top five guys, and it's not sustainable like that. We've seen. I always like to bring up the Phillies because their lineup is deep. 1 through 9, you know you're going to face someone that's going to be very, very difficult to get out. The Braves, same thing. 1 through 9. Who's an easy out for them? No one. The Dodgers, same thing. I mean, they can go 1 through 25 if they wanted to. There's no one easy to get out. That's the thing with the Mets. I believe someone like a Jesse Winker can keep his success going once he put on the Mets uniform. But it doesn't matter what I believe. It's what the team. It's what he goes out there and does for himself. Now McNeil's hurt. I mean, I didn't think he was going to do much anyway, but that presents a huge opportunity for Acuna and Beatty, who some people. I mean, I don't like Beatty. I personally don't think he's a player, but now he has a shot to prove me wrong and everyone else that wanted him gone. I know he's playing a new position, so that's a tough thing as well. But he's able to go in there, hit probably eighth, seventh, or eighth in the lineup, lower. Big lefty bat who has the potential to get hot. I mean, he had a terrific spring training. I can't take that away from him. But we've seen plenty of times where guys don't hit, that they do hit in spring. They get to the regular season, it's the other way around. So that's something we need to keep an eye out for. Something with the pitching staff as well. A few different things. The bullpen, I don't have full trust in yet, because of like someone like Daniel Nunez, who was great for the Mets last year, then got injured, and he's still trying to recover from that. So he's going to start the year in AAA. I'm sure he'll be up quickly, but it's a guy that you don't have. AJ Minter, who's another guy, he's not fully healthy yet, but I think they're going to throw him on the roster and hope for the best. It's a lot of question marks in the pen that I think that they need to. Um, they can't afford to start out like they did last year. I mean, I'm not saying they will, but they can't afford to do that because it's very tough to come back from. And
Yeah.
then with the starting rotation as well, they're already banged up. I know Manai is not going to be in it to start. Sadly, Tyler McGill once again will get a shot at starting through the first time around, which I'm not too happy about. But it is what it is. And then the last thing, I think for all Mets fans in general, having Mendoza in the same spot now, he's looks like he got more comfortable as the year went on. He wasn't afraid to pull the trigger on pinch hitters. He wasn't afraid to pull the trigger on defensive replacements. He wasn't afraid to pull the trigger on certain pitching moves. Maybe a guy in this day and age of the MLB, if you throw 90 pitches in 6 innings, you're not going back out there. Mendoza has that feel of like, okay, this guy's starting to roll now. We're going to leave him in. So I have full trust in him. Something I could not say last year. I know, Vinny, you knew in the beginning of the year I did not like him at all.
Yeah.
It looked like he was a scared puppy in the dugout, but he figured it out quickly. And I have full trust in him, which is something I haven't said in a while about managers for my teams or head coaches, or if you want to say. But yeah, thanks for listening to
Yeah.
my spiel there.
No, dude. I mean, I don't think you could have framed it any better. Between here's the thing. I've told you time and time and time again that I think Brett Beatty is the purest definition of a quadruple A player. But the talent's always been there. I think that's something that we have always seen from him, and I would love to see Beatty have a little bit of success because I know how frustrating it's been for you watching him. And then worst case scenario, if he does struggle, then you do have guys in the pipeline. You know, Acuna could definitely take over. I don't know if Ronnie Mauricio is going to come up this year, possibly. I think
He's still
he's still a ways away. I
he-
think. But you know, I wouldn't say I'm excited for this Mets team because I'm not, because I don't want to root for the Mets. But there is a lot to like about the New York Mets for this season. Going to my precious Philadelphia Phillies. Don't crumble at the end of the season again. I think that is the purest way to describe it. You know, you win the division for the first time since 2011. And especially after 2022, you make the World Series. 2023, you're a game away from the World Series again. And again, the Mets are riding hot in the postseason. In almost any sport is about who gets hot at the right time. So, sure, you ran into the blaze that was the New York Mets. Don't let it happen again. I think you can't afford, with the core of guys that you have, you can't afford for another season to be wasted on fizzling out late. You have Schwarber hitting free agency after this year. You have JT hitting free agency. Rangers due for free agency. Rangers definitely leaving. He's going to warrant a big enough contract where someone's going to pay for him. He is starting the season on the IL, which does suck. But at least we get to see if Taijuan Walker has anything left in the tank.
Nope.
No, absolutely not. Here's the thing is I was like feeling good about him for like through his first 3 spring training outings, and then his last one he got lit up. And I'm like, there's the Taijuan I know. I would say from a pitching side, Nola is always better in even years. So with it being 2025, I don't know how that's going to go, but I have faith in Knowles. He's looked really dominant in spring training. I know you do take spring training with a grain of salt. You do take it with what it is. Sanchez has looked phenomenal. I've even said to some people that in regards to the rotation, I would rather have Sanchez as my 3 than Ranger. Sanchez has that put away stuff. He just hasn't. He forces a ton of ground balls, which is great, but he really has that stuff that could put away batters with ease. I don't think Ranger possesses that. Which this is no disrespect to Ranger. He was phenomenal for us last year before he got injured. Wheeler had an all right spring. Again, spring, you take it for what it is. But Wheels is your ace. You know exactly what you're getting out of him. Jesus Luzardo, he's had a tough spring, which sucks because I was unbelievably fired up when they brought him in. Especially like his first outing, he looked great. And then he's really struggled with the long ball. It's every other outing he pitches well. So there might be an adjustment that is needed. But I still think with him being a younger arm, there's a lot of time that you can be confident in him to build up for. Especially also Andrew Painter knocking on the door. He's not going to start the season with the big club. Probably won't be till at least midseason. But theoretically, Luzardo really struggles. Someone else gets hurt, and we have to call it Painter. I would be okay with that. I mean, I know he spent the last 2 years recovering from TJ, but he just looks phenomenal every time he touches baseball. So I'd be excited for that. For the bullpen, if Jose Alvarado does what he did in spring training, I would be ecstatic. I mean, in 9 innings of work, Cam, he has struck out 20 guys. He has not walked as many. Like his whole thing was his control issues. He's only walked 3 guys. He's allowed 6 total base runners in all of spring training. Like he has looked so good. Jordan Romano, another guy who battled with injuries last year with Toronto, and people kind of forgot that he was a top relief pitcher for a little bit. He's been phenomenal in spring training. So having those 2 guys late in the game, Orion Kirkring looks a lot better. Like we didn't make any flashy moves when it came to our bullpen. We let Hoffman leave. We let Estevez leave. We brought in Romano. But I think it shows a lot of faith in the guys that you do have in your bullpen to go out there and get the outs that are needed. I still think maybe bringing an arm or 2 to bolster up the bullpen. But I think, it is what it is for the time being. As for hitting, spring training, you take it with a grain of salt. Alec Boehm, please translate this over. Please don't fall off a cliff like you did last year. We remember watching that, Cam. We remember watching how good he was for like 90% of the season. Battles with a little bit of injury at the end of the year, and then forgets how to hit.
I don't. It's not even just him though, because like I have this memory just like lodged in my head of the opening play for the Phillies at bat for the playoffs, and it like went the most Philly way possible that you can absolutely think of. Schwarber walks up to the plate.
Tank.
Schwarber hits it an absolute bomb into the what was it? It was probably almost to the second tier of Citizens Bank Park. And then what? Maybe there was 2 hits after that the entire game. Like
that's what I mean. Like everyone, this is where like saying you can't fizzle out at the end.
I just like I know we've talked about this in previous episodes too, from like my personal perspective. Like I just don't see how the Phillies can repeat a playoff run this year, or even make the playoffs, just because the fact that they have the guys there that have clearly done it for the last 3 years. But how many more times is it going to take for a team like that you don't really invest too much in bringing in a new guy to try and shake up the lineup a little bit, maybe bring an edge to that locker room so guys stay a little bit on their toes? But it just seems like it's another family reunion for the Phillies. Again, not that the team is like the lineup on paper should be fantastic. Like I mean, and they clearly have done it for the last couple of years, but it's just they need to find a way to get hot and stay hot, which is the one. But like that's the one thing that they've always struggled to do. It doesn't matter if since what 2022.
I think they peaked at the wrong time last year, which it was great they won the division. But I get what you mean. They didn't make any flashy moves. They brought in Max Kepler, who's been good this spring, and I am definitely excited to see him at Citizens Bank. They brought in Luzardo, they brought in Romano. So they didn't make these flashy moves like the Juan Sotos of the world, the Roki Sasaki's, but they made the moves that Dombrowski and the organization thinks they need to bolster up. They brought in a nice little power bat to put at the lower half of their lineup. They brought in a 5th starter. They brought in a guy to toss some late innings. And even still, another guy who he's not going to start with the big club. But, let's say Marsh really struggles or Kepler gets hurt or something comes up. Gabriel Rincones has looked unbelievable in spring training. The power that this kid has in his bat is insane. I'm so fired up for him. I really want to see him debut this year. A big thing as well, whether you're using it as an excuse, whatever you want to read as, the fact that Bryson Stott came out and said, he was injured at the beginning of the season and played through the entire year. And yes, he had a bad year. I'm not going to downplay that. He was unbelievably bad last year. He's healthy this year. And also, spring training, grain of salt. Keep saying it. In 17 games, he's drawn 13 walks. For a guy who is very, I wouldn't say slap happy, but he focuses on just getting hits. To work that many at-bats and to draw that many walks is huge. For a guy who's going to be hitting 6th, 7th in the lineup to kind of help the bottom of the order get guys on. Because you know what the top 4 or 5 guys are going to do. Schwarber, Turner, Harp, Bohm. You know what they're going to do. But you've seen the inconsistencies from Castellanos. JT is getting older. Stott had a bad year last year. And then don't even get me started on Rojas. Rojas, he doesn't really, again, better in spring training, but he doesn't really hit. Marsh can't hit lefties. Kepler, it's his first season in Philly. So there's a lot of ifs at the bottom half of the lineup. But the fact that, he's drawing walks like that. Rojas did look better in spring. It definitely gives you a little bit of confidence. I'd prefer Philly started off slow and picked it up later in the season as they did the prior 2 years. I still think with the amount of talent on this team, injuries would be the only thing that would keep them from the playoffs. I just think they have too much going for them to at least not grab a playoff spot. From there, we'll find out.
Yeah, I think the 2 things that can really hurt the Phillies is Rojas and Castellanos. I think if they can just get out there and play an okay level of baseball, it'll be fine. Because Rojas in particular really struggles at bat. Easily is the worst hitter on the team.
It's to the point now that he is becoming just like a defensive replacement. The fact that Marsh played almost every game and left last year, and they're we're okay with slotting him over in the center. Now, lefty, righty, I think they're going to try and force Marsh to hit more lefties. But, Rojas, apart from this spring, really hasn't shown anything at the professional level when it comes to hitting.
Yeah.
Defensively, he's great. What makes me so bad about Casty is he can be you can see when he is torrid hot.
He needs to play angry. He's one of those players where I think if the angrier he plays, the
better he plays.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying. But when you see how great he is, the 2 months out of the season that he was phenomenal last year. He was probably the best hitter in the Phillies lineup. But when he's not hitting, he really provides no value. His defense has definitely gotten better. I will give him that. But it's so freaking frustrating, man. Also, real quick, I just peeped this now. Marsh is another guy who's drawn a ton of walks too. So if the daycare, let the daycare of Bohm and Stott and Marshy go crazy. That's what I'd love to see. That's my spiel about the Phillies. They're going to win 90 games. They're going to be a playoff team. But if you keep losing earlier in the postseason, you're not firing the fans up. Give us a reason to be fired. Heck, at the trade deadline, make that big splash. I don't care what you got to do, but you got to do something too. Because Philly's always going to fire around their teams, and I love it. When you keep losing earlier and earlier in the postseason, it's hard for your fan base to keep buying back in. But, Johnny, anything else before we move away from the diamond?
No, I think we're in the same boat, honestly. I like that. I like how we're kind of going into the same boat this year. Is we have expectations. They should be in the postseason regardless of anything that really happens. And then from there, I don't know. If they get hot or not, right? It kind of seems like we're all in the same boat. I like that.
Let's hope we both get hot, and then we get ALC or NLCS, and then winner faces the Tigers or Blue Jays. So then he knows ball can at least be thriving to some extent. Jack, hate to break it to you, it will not be the Pirates.
I need
I'm excited. Blue Jays are set up for the future.
They have some good things. Yeah, they definitely have to retain guys after this year, but they could be really good. All right, switching over, the NFL draft is 1 month away to the date. So with draft day quickly approaching, we obviously focus on the Cam Wards and the Shador Sanders and the Travis Hunters and Abdul Carters of the draft. Cam brought this up a few weeks ago, and so we're finally letting his dream come to life. We're going to talk about the NFL draft underdogs that we see from this class that's coming up. So we will go. We'll start with Corey. We'll work our way down. So Corey had Virginia Tech's running back Bashul Tootin ranked on mock draft database as the 114th overall player, projected to go about in the 4th round. Also, sidebar, we're gonna say you had to be a 4th rounder or later, just because second rounders aren't really underdogs. But he's projected to go in the 4th. Had a really, really, really good year. Almost matched his career high from a season ago. Had 15 total touchdowns. Ranked 6th out of the 31 running backs of the combine, which is great. Had the fastest 40-yard dash time of the group. Physical runner, can absorb contact, and has that home run speed, which I think a lot of teams look for, especially later in the draft. They want more raw talent that they can develop, and I think Tootin is the purest definition of that. Someone who can, if he finds his hole, if he gets a good offensive line, learns some patience and hits the gap the right way, he's going to have these big plays. So I definitely do like, as Corey was calling him earlier in the season, I think it was a Moigoy a while back, Rudy Tootin. JD, who is your NFL draft dog?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tyler Shaw, but before that, is perhaps Soren still alive? I hope he didn't pass out.
Soren heard Virginia. He's rocking his Virginia Tech right now behind the camera.
I just wanted to make sure he didn't pass out. But I'm going to go with Tyler Shaw, so I'll stay in the ACC. QB from the Louisville Cardinals this year. He played 6 seasons of college football, so I take it this way. I know a lot of people make fun of those type of players nowadays, but it's kind of becoming the norm across all college sports. He played for 3 different schools, so he has a ton of different, I put exposure, but I would say kind of just like he learned different systems, so he's kind of been through it. He's been with different personalities from every different team he's played for, different states. So I kind of feel he's well equipped to go to an NFL team. Obviously, he's not going to start this year. I mean, unless some team probably lost 2 quarterbacks. But I could getting on a team and slowly developing over the time. I think he has a ton of talent. He's not going to do anything that's like eye popping, but I think he will do a good job as a backup for whatever team he goes to. And I think he'll stick for a while. But he threw 23 touchdowns over the season, over 3,000 yards as well. This is kind of his first season with good stats as well, so I don't know if it's just that he wasn't comfortable. I know he had injuries as well, so I think it's just he needs to go to a good situation, and I wouldn't be opposed to him coming to my team, becoming a backup, and then maybe working his way up.
I'm not opposed to. I definitely think the experience side is huge, and I didn't even think about, because obviously 6 years of college football experience is one thing, but even learning the different systems. Because even if it's, you mentioned he's probably not starting, but even as a 23, 24-year-old, being able to provide that wisdom, hey, these are the 3 systems I ran, it does put him in a good situation. So let's say someone does get hurt and someone else gets hurt. So he's, the third option. He gets thrown into the deep end. He's had the experience of learning these different offenses where he should be able to pick it up relatively quickly.
100%.
Agree.
Yeah. I'll also stick in the ACC. I also have a quarterback, but it is Kyle McCord instead from Syracuse. Now, it is hilarious the kind of turn that I've had on Kyle McCord. I hated him when he was at Ohio State. I thought he stunk. But he transferred, and maybe it was the offense they were putting together. Maybe it was getting coached under Ryan Day. I don't know what it was. But maybe it was just the offense letting him kind of sling it around, because he did exactly that. He threw for almost 4,800 yards and 34 touchdowns. He only had 1 game this year where he threw for less than 300 yards. Like, that is insane. He's projected to go in about the 5th round. I believe the combine, the analyst who did his grading in his report, they said he was his player comparison was Mitch Trubisky, which I don't love.
Yeah,
but I can definitely see it, because he did throw 12 interceptions this year, so turnovers can be an issue. But I definitely think the arm talent is there. He has an absolute cannon of an arm. And same situation. He's not going to come in first day and, be a starting quarterback. But the arm talent's there. He's not super mobile, so I think you definitely have to develop his ability to maneuver around in the pocket. But yeah, I think in a situation where you have a very pass-heavy offense, you could definitely bring McCord in, have him learn, and then if you don't really want to, if you want to have a passing of the torch, where let's say you have an older quarterback who you're willing to move on from, and you don't want to spend a high pick and figure out what you have in McCord, I think that might be McCord's track to becoming a starter. It won't be this year, probably won't be next year. But we could definitely see Kyle McCord maybe throwing passes in the NFL. I would hope they wouldn't try and convert him to like a tight end or something. But he is pretty big. He's a bigger dude. But yeah, I would love to see Kyle McCord start to light it up in the NFL to some extent. Cam, I know you've been chomping at the bit for this. You have two of them. So who are your two draft day dogs?
So I'm going to start out with the first one. We're heading over to sunny Los Angeles. We're going to take a look at the redshirt senior from UCLA, Kane Medrano. He's played 6 seasons in total throughout college football. This past season, or I believe this might just be, no, it says 2024 stats, but 50 solo tackles, 1.5 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles in the 2024 college football season. Not only that, mock draft database has them at 257. So, like, he could technically go undrafted just based off the numbers. Obviously, at draft day, anything can change. But he was the fastest linebacker at the combine, running a 4.46. And then also, I forget where I got this two quotes from, but they have him as quoted, raised on a farm, and he's a former rodeo star. So if anyone knows how to take a hit, it's people who run around bulls for a living. But he's a 6'3" linebacker. He's got the size, he's got the abilities, and he has some of the stats to back it up. He's a little bit on the older side. I was playing 6 seasons in college football, especially for a linebacker, could be out of the ordinary. That might push teams away. But I think his speed and his athleticism definitely warrants some teams picking him up somewhere in like the 5th or 6th round who are in need of linebacker depth. Now for my real pick. And oh boy, have I been wanting to shout this man out for a while. So, quick shout out to my close friend and neighbor of way too many years, Dante Folk. Also goes to the same school as this wonderful man. Taylor Elgersma, the quarterback for the Wilfrid Laurier in Waterloo, Ontario, the Golden Hawks. This is the Canadian Josh Allen. I don't know how else to put it. I am so unbelievably hyped about this dude, and I want him to get drafted so badly. But the cool thing about him is he's the first Canadian football player to ever be invited to the Senior Bowl. He has met with 10 teams so far in the entire NFL. Mock draft database had him at 300 plus, so he doesn't even have a number. So he should technically go undrafted. But his stats for this past season, on completions, he had 275 completed passes out of 374 on only 10 interceptions. He threw for over 4,000 yards, had 34 touchdowns, 81 yards was the long, and 6 rushing touchdowns. Now, if you haven't checked out his Senior Bowl highlights, you absolutely need to. His one pass is like a 40-yard perfect dot on like on the receiver's back shoulder and like a post route. It's ridiculous. I mean, granted, Canadian football and American football are 2 almost completely different sports. But the potential is there for a team who has a quarterback already set, like the Buffalo Bills, who also need a big man from the middle of nowhere. I think NFL teams should definitely take a chance on him. And if he doesn't get signed by an NFL team, I mean, I think he can easily go and tear up the XFL if he needs some time to learn the different rules of the game. But I am so unbelievably hyped about this dude, and I hope to see his name called as Mr. Irrelevant or somewhere in that 7th round. I think it'd be so sick.
I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but I mean, what a story it would be if that was to happen.
The fact that he has met with so many teams, and
that is a crazy thing.
Like teams are like, but like he's 6'6", 215 pounds. I know I believe from what I was reading, he was a dual sport athlete in whatever the Canadian NCAA is, but he played hockey as well. So he's a multi-sport athlete. The athleticism is there. I mean, there was even one stat, I think it was either from this year or 2023, where he was taking punt returns while also being the quarterback of this team. But he led this team through the Canadian college football playoffs. My one buddy went in person, because he goes to this school in Waterloo, Ontario, and he's crazy. I mean, like he clearly sticks out compared to the rest of the guys who are playing Canadian football up there. But oh man, am I excited to finally say his name out loud, because there's not them, like, even trying to do my research, there's not a whole lot of people talking about him. Like, you're not going to see his name on the front lines of ESPN or anywhere. Like, it is one of those people that, like, if he does get drafted and has, like, somehow creates an amazing story in the NFL, people are going to be like, where did this man come from?
You know, dude, I would love to see what a story it would be. Yeah, that's a deep cut, Cam. That is a dog.
Well, I've been talking to my friend about him since probably the beginning of this year, just because I saw one clip, like one highlight on some random Instagram reel, and I've been following this dude, and his stats don't lie. Like, he's been the starting quarterback for 3 years for this team. So, and I mean, he's throwing with 12 guys on the field rather than 11. So, I mean, he's got to be amazing in man coverage.
Let's hope we can see it, dude.
Let's hope and see.
I hope in like the next little bit we get like a pro day or like a team workout video that surfaces on Twitter of this guy just slinging it. Yeah, do some digging, Cam. As we move on, we're going to stick with the NFL just for a bit longer. Obviously, we are an unbelievably ways away from the NFL season starting, but it'll be here in no time, hopefully at least. And with, football, there's always fantasy football too. So, John, I kind of want to go through and kind of do a mock draft at the moment of what the NFL or what the fantasy football first round would kind of look like. So we'll do PPR standing. At this moment, who do you think would be the first overall pick in many people's fantasy drafts for the upcoming season?
I mean, I think it should be Barkley. I would do that. I mean, why not? The way he played this year. But I could see like a Jamar Chase happening, or of course Jefferson. One of those three should be the first pick.
So according to Fantasy Pros, I did put in their ranking. Those were the top three players. Not in that order. They have Jamar Chase, Jefferson, and then Saquon. But I definitely see those being in that combination 1, 2, and 3. I'm really interested to see. And now it does depend on the situation he goes to. But we have seen in the past where rookie running backs go in the first round. Do we think Ashton Genty would be a first round pick in fantasy?
No.
You don't believe so?
I don't think so.
No shot.
Mm-mm.
I don't think
I agree.
I can't even think of when was the last time there's been a rookie that was drafted first round in the fantasy football.
Najee and Bijan were the two most recent, and that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like compared to them, Genty's a better prospect. Again, it does depend on situation. I think Pittsburgh has always had like a good run presence, and I think Bijan Robinson, being the freak athlete that he was coming out of college, I even think if you go further back, I think Saquon might have been a first round pick back in his first season.
Maybe. I think there's too many talent and veterans. I'm also kind of curious to see where CMC is going to fall.
I still think huge.
Because you didn't even mention his name. I still don't think when you first open up fantasy football, you're going to do that draft day when it comes to the time in August.
Yeah.
He's still probably going to be listed as the 10th, 8th, 9th, like somewhere around there. No?
According to Fantasy
Pros. He also didn't have any stats this year, really.
Again, this is projecting for next year, though. According to Fantasy Pros, they have McCaffrey as the 29th overall player.
So borderline third or fourth.
Depending on how many people are in your league, third or fourth.
That's also the time
average draft is about 28 and a half.
That's crazy, because that's the start of the time where people are going to start picking up Josh Allen, trying to draft quarterbacks.
That
so he can fall
is
even further.
That is the tier that he's in. It's with Allen, it's with Daniels, it's with other running backs like Jacobs and Taylor. That is really far down in the draft. I know he was injured this year, but also just this is what's so tricky, because he always goes high in the draft, but I think this was probably the final straw for a lot of people, because he was projected 1-1, and a lot of people took him at the first pick, and then he burnt you. And this is like the third or fourth time in his career that people drafting him early have been burnt, and I feel like they're now going to start to wash their hands of him. And if you get him in the third or fourth, maybe you take that shot, but I don't think you are chomping at the bit to get CMC.
Well, I think it's also got to do with the severity of the injury. What is it? Achilles tendonitis, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that. It's I mean, I don't have it. I don't know any of the experience, but it sounds like one of those injuries where like you're never going to be able to fully recover from. Like there's always going to be that lingering pain. There's always going to be that worry. Similar to like Rodgers this year in the pocket. Like there's always going to be that worry in the back of his mind. And will my Achilles go today?
Yeah.
Like that's where I feel like CMC is going to end up. But at the current rate, it's not like they're going to move on from CMC for Jordan Mason or.
They traded Mason at Minnesota. I think.
Oh yeah, that is right. So I guess who did they?
They're probably going to go and draft someone as well. They will 100% draft a
Maybe
running back.
Genty falls to them too. What are they? Because they're below 15, right?
What pick are they?
If anyone, if the Bears don't take him first, or maybe or the Cowboys, the Niners could. He could fall for the Niners.
The Niners are at 11. So
I think
theoretically,
problems.
Yeah, they have.
I was gonna say I don't.
Yeah,
They lost a lot of guys.
Yeah, they have
That's
other
true.
needs that they need more. But in, let's say, some like really unforeseen circumstance, Genty falls to like out of like the top 20. I could see San Fran trading up and trying to get him. It's not a destiny thing, and I really think Dallas is going to be the team that scoops him up. But I could see in the off chance. But even if it's not Genty, I could see them spending a second or a third on a back. I think there's so much depth here that you could get anyone.
I'm really looking forward to doing another mock draft with you guys though, because from everything that I've been seeing, like so many ESPN analysts all have the Bears scooping up Genty with the 9th.
Well, good thing that you bring that up because we're doing a mock draft next week.
Oh.
So make sure to stay tuned for that. As we kind of keep going through who could be going in the first round, what do we think about some of the rookie receivers from last year? Neighbors, McConkey, Thomas Jr. Harrison Jr. went high. He's really not projected to go super high after his kind of disappointing rookie season. But do we think Neighbors, even Bowers being the first tight end off the board, like how early do we see some of these rookies going?
I got my opinion. JD, you go first.
I could see them both being in the first round. I mean, I know Neighbors has. I mean, I'll take it this way: if Jameis Winston's starting, he's going to get tons of catches and targets. But obviously, the team won't do well. But his numbers will be perfect. So Neighbors definitely in the first round. Bowers, I could see it. Yeah, I mean, he was great last year.
What about
sometimes with tight ends?
Yeah, it is very It does depend on the league and how they draft tight ends.
He'll be like middle of second round, probably where like Travis Kelce.
Yeah,
like
unless
Mark
someone feels really ballsy in picking him.
Yeah,
because I mean he set like every tight end rookie record.
Well, so did Sam Laporta, and I mean it's not like Sam Laporta had the greatest year either.
Yeah, but no, I mean Bowers
get a quarterback now too.
He is all. Yeah, I guess he is going to forever
and
be the
he is
Raiders' first option.
I was gonna say, and he is their only option. That's what I'm saying. Laporta had other guys around him and still had success. Bowers is the only thing. What do we think about Thomas Jr.? Do we think he could sneak into the first? Because Fantasy Pros has him as the 11th ranked player in fantasy at the moment. I think with how good he was and Lawrence missing most of the season, I think it could definitely set him up. Kirk being gone as well.
I know JD already mentioned. I think he would be the first gone out of the rookie wide receivers.
Thomas Jr. Really?
Yes, I think there's going to be a lot of uncertainty with Neighbors, similar to how it was this year with when Daniel Jones was first there, and then I don't even know. I can't name their other 5 quarterbacks that started this year. Tyrod Taylor, I don't even know. Drew Lock.
Lock was one of them.
But I think there's because I'm trying to draw back to this year's fantasy draft, and I think he dropped to almost the 8th round for us because no one wanted to touch him. It's not because the talent wasn't there; it's because the people around him is there. I think with Brian Thomas Jr., not that the Jaguars are in a much better spot than the Giants are, Duval, but he's gonna at least consistently get the ball, especially if Trevor Lawrence is healthy. But if it isn't Brian Thomas Jr. going first out of those rookie wide receivers, it's got to be Ladd McConkey. Like the team is already,
McConkey did get a lot of targets.
The team is set up for him. I mean, it's not like Herbert's not great in the playoffs, but he's always going to be consistent in the regular season. I think it's either going to be McConkey or Thomas, who's going to be the first second-year wide receiver off the board.
McConkey is currently the 20th receiver or 20th player overall. Neighbors and Thomas are 10 and 11, but I can definitely see there's a lot of things that changed, and especially I do like Winston. But But let's say they really don't do anything. Like the Giants really don't do anything else to help improve the offense. Like let's say they don't address the offensive line for some reason, and Winston's just going to be fighting for his life back there. It could definitely hurt Neighbors for sure.
Yeah.
Or Neighbors could. Let's say a report comes out that he's disgruntled. It's going to have him fall. Or Thomas and Lawrence. There's a video that surfaces of them working out, and they look great. There's always these little things that affect positions in the draft. I think if not in the first round, all 4 of the now second-year players that we mentioned will be scooped up by the second in some crazy circumstance, maybe the third, like beginning right at the turn. Where do we think – I want to address the 2 Miami players because I kind of got burnt from them. Well, primarily one of them burnt me, but Devon Achane and Tyreek Hill. They're both in the top 20. I think Achane you have a lot more faith in because he does so much for that offense, and I think Mostert really isn't a factor anymore. Hill is a lot more difficult because of the whole thing at the end of the season.
Yeah. I think it's easy to say that none of them should go in the first round.
Really?
I would still
You don't think Achane could sneak into the first?
No, it's like we made the argument. I think if people have, for some reason, say like Brock Bowers is 12th and Achane is 13th, and you have both of those guys, you're going to draft Brock Bowers over Achane. Even Neighbors, I think that people would maybe want to take more of a chance with Malik Neighbors over Achane. It's just with how that Dolphins team is in the trajectory that they are currently on, it's basically I could see Mike McDaniels getting fired around week 7. If they play exactly how it went last season. There's a lot of what ifs in this scenario. But even like Tyreek, there's just so many better wide receiver ones in the league now, and with how unwilling he was to participate on the field, whether it was a minor injury and he just wanted to sit out to help his longevity, I think there's going to be too many what ifs with Tyreek, and then Achane maybe has a better shot of going a little bit higher than him.
I think Achane you have a lot more faith in because he does usually ball out. Obviously, with Tua on the field, he does play better. I think they showed a stat the first 4 games he played with Tua and the 4 games he played without him, he averaged 20.5 with him and like 8.8 without him. Miami has a lot going. They need a lot to go for them.
Yeah, JD, what do you think?
Me and you were in total agreement all day so far today.
Okay.
I couldn't have said it better. I think Miami's kind of going in that downhill trajectory, like you just said. And if you're trying to put faith in those guys for your fantasy team, I really wouldn't this year. I don't think they're going to be a very good team at all.
Who do you guys think would be like a sleeper pick that could go in the first overall that maybe is not listed right now? Like none of like the top 10 guys from this past year. So like no Chase, no Jefferson, no Amon-Ra.
I'm looking at Fantasy Pros, and this was going to be my next question because I don't really understand this. They have Nico Collins in the top 10.
What?
That's insane.
That's not good.
That's crazy, dude. He was going like the 5th round last year, and he was fine. He was a good receiver. He did what was expected of him.
Yeah, because I drafted him in the 4th, I think, and then I took like Tank Dell in the 7th.
I was about to say, like, are you really spending your first pick on Nico Collins with an offensive line that has now gotten worse? Obviously, they're probably going to address through the draft.
Yeah.
And again, you're expecting Stroud to get better, but if there's no offensive line, there's no guarantee he's going to get better. So seeing Collins this high is, I wouldn't say sickening, but I don't know who in their right mind is drafting Nico Collins 9th overall.
I guess the only thing that would make sense for me is with Tank Dell future completely being a question mark, whether or not he's even able to come back on the field. He's not coming back this year. And maybe if he comes back in 2027, like there's so much uncertainty. Like he's obviously going to be the number 1 guy, but wasn't he battling a lot of injuries? I mean, like
he was banged for a bit.
That whole wide receiver locker room was really screwed up this entire year for the Texans. It's kind of a miracle that they even made the playoffs in the first place.
Yeah.
Granted, that division was garbage.
That division is trash.
Yeah.
I think they brought in Christian Kirk, who I think is better as a wide receiver too. But he's kind of also past his prime, I think. They'll probably bring in 1 or 2 guys to the draft, probably not high value guys. I see you looking confused.
Yeah, I just opened up Fantasy Pros. Yeah, I'm really.
I don't get it. Like again, he is the number one, but I just think that like looking at the receivers around him, there's other guys I'd want. I'd rather have London. I'd rather have the rookies. I'd rather have Brown. I'd rather have Smith and Jigba. Like I'm almost to the point where like I think it'd be more of a toss up between him and Hill, in my opinion.
I'd rather draft Trey McBride over Jonathan Taylor in the second too. Like,
Yeah, there's this
a
is
lot.
there's a lot of questionable. But this also it is very far out from, you know.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so like the neighbor situation, if they were to bring in your rookie quarterback, maybe you have more faith in. Maybe you don't. I don't know. Or with Houston, if they were to bring in, let's say they just build up the offensive line and Stroud has like this great protection, the different story. But like I think it is really early to tell. But I just wanted to bring it up like an early conversation, just because it's been a while since we talked fantasy, and I was starting to miss it. But yeah, we'll keep moving on. But yeah, we'll circle back.
Now
with,
I got beef with them.
Why?
They got David Montgomery at 20th over Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard is ahead of him.
Oh, for running backs?
Kenneth Walker's above him. James Cook and even CMC. Wow, this is scuffed. I know we're not even at the draft yet, but this is really scuffed.
All right. Let's move on. It's time for the HKB Monday parlay. Just a reminder that gambling is a serious issue. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER today. Corey sold the bag last time, right?
Yep.
We can't shame him because he's not here, but shame. All right, so because Corey wants to lose us money, I think he went a little bit safer this time. He picked Paolo Banchero for 20+ points versus the Los Angeles Lakers. Line is about -650, so really playing it safe this time. Banchero's hit this every time this month, has gone 10 for 10 with that. Corey said he would have done 25+ points, but he wanted to play it safe and make sure that we got our money. So thank you, Corey, for not trying to donate to the backs of Las Vegas. So Paolo Banchero 20+. I'm going to be sticking with the NBA as well, and I'm going to go with the over in points between the Indiana Pacers and Minnesota Timberwolves. The last time they played, which was I think about a week or two ago, the final score was 132-130, absolutely smashing this line. And the last 3 games that Minnesota has played, they've hit this mark. And the 2 before that, they missed by 1 and 2 points respectively. I think these are 2 great offenses. I think it's going to be another shootout. So we're going to rock with the over between Minnesota and Indiana. Cam, what do you got?
So I got home pretty late last night after doing a lot of my capstone stuff this past weekend. And first thing I see on ESPN is a Lakers game. And I think I'm on probably like week 4 now if I would have chose LeBron for literally anything. So this time I'm going to shake it up a little bit. I'm going with the Orlando Magic, but more specifically, Franz Wagner. I want him to get 20+ points this game. I don't have the stats for the last 5 games. I know he's been roughly over like that 22-point margin. He's been averaging 24.2 this entire season. I was looking at a PRA for him as well, but going to try and play it a little bit safe. Go with that 20 points. He is probably going to be matched up with possibly LeBron. So maybe the GOAT passes on some love to him. So Franz Wagner, 20 points.
All right. Sora, what do you got? Wrap us up.
And finally, I have the Dallas Stars money line. I think that it's going to be a pretty good game to watch. But statistically, the Dallas Stars are 4th overall in the league in goal scoring. So I'll be kind of surprised. I'll be kind of intrigued to see what happens there. But I think I think the Dallas Stars are going to pull it off.
Who do they play?
They play the Wild tonight.
Yeah, Minnesota Wild, who's coming off of a 3-game winning streak.
I'm glad that you picked this because I was looking at this game last night or yesterday, and I wanted to pick it, but I couldn't pull the trigger just because it is such a closely matched game. Each of the 2 games in this series already have been decided by 1 goal. The last one went to overtime. So I'm glad you picked it because I wanted to, but I just couldn't I really couldn't fully invest in it. So I'm glad you picked this, Soren.
Thanks.
So to recap, we have two Orlando Magic players for 20+ points. Corey's going with Paolo Banchero, Cam with Franz Wagner. I have the over in points between the Pacers and Timberwolves, and Soren is rocking with the Dallas Stars money line. Give or take, should be about plus 330, 340 odds. So yeah, let's make some money, but please remember, gambling is a serious issue. Remember to play for fun, and if you're not playing for fun, maybe it's time to give it a call. Please call 1-800-GAMBLER today. All right, we didn't get a chance to go down here last time, but the return of the Mac, the return of Soren's Alley.
I missed that.
Soren,
away.
take it over.
All right, so I know we didn't have Soren's Alley last week, but like I said, there was a lot of things going on, with Capstone and everything going on, but I did get to host a March Madness party, so I was really thrilled about that. I was with some, I was actually hosting it, and some of Corey's friends came over. They actually brought over a buffalo chicken dip. So I was like, oh, yes. And
That's
then
the perfect recipe for a good party.
And then literally we had like 3 boxes of Domino's pizza, just cheese pizza.
Did you try, Soren?
Yeah.
Have you tried Domino's stuffed crust yet?
I have not, but I'm willing to give it a try.
It is very good. I was a big fan of it this Saturday night.
Yeah, but it was actually a lot of fun, just have at that party and spending time with friends, after a very hard working week here at school. So, it's always nice to take those off times and spend it with, friends and that. So it's kind of nice. And I know that, you also kind of mentioned the McNeese manager for that team. He is actually transferring to NC State.
Okay, it is official. Got it.
Yeah, because I
didn't know
did see some videos that were surfacing around the internet, and that's where I believe he is transferring. So
Amir Ora Khan.
and then also, I know Corey, who is not here today, mentioned the Virginia Tech running back Keishal Tootin, I believe his name is, or something like that.
Vishal Tootin.
Vishal Tootin, yeah. But I did get to see him play just this past season, but I think he could be actually a really good surprise in the draft. I wouldn't mind seeing him. I mean, he could really fit on any team realistically. I mean, but I know for me personally, I wouldn't mind seeing him go for the Eagles, but like I said, their running back room is pretty good right now, even though they have Saquon and Will Shipley and man, I mean,
you guys do need a third running back.
I don't think they have Kenneth Gainwell anymore. I don't think.
No, he's in Philly.
Yeah.
Or in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, it would not be a bad move if he's available, like 5th round, maybe snagging him up.
I think Philly definitely could, but we also brought in AJ Dillon, so our running back room's starting to get kind of bad.
That is right. Oh my.
We have the biggest quads in the NFL.
Dude, there's so much. I can't even keep up with all the free agency news at the
It's okay, there's a lot of posts online, there's a lot of things going on, It's okay if, not everybody is, following along, but like I said, it comes with pluses and minuses, but I will say though, going back to Virginia Tech, there was Virginia Tech baseball this weekend. They did play Louisville, and they won the series 2 games to 1. The first game being a win of 5-4. Then they lost the second game pretty bad, but then they came back and won the third game out of the series. Side note as well, according to their Virginia Tech baseball Instagram page, I was seeing on their story that my uncle, Coach John Sheff, he now has over 600 career victories within the program. So that is also,
That's all.
kind of an achieving mark in
That's huge.
His legacy of coaching. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations to him.
I'm appreciative of that. So
Yeah, no, that's
Awesome.
very cool. That's a great shout out, Soren.
yeah, and that's always nice to have.
Yeah.
Good work today, buddy. Oh, that was very cool. Tell your uncle
Great
we all
job.
say congratulations. That's very sick. He's got to be feeling on top of the world right now.
Yeah, of course. And I think there's one more thing I forgot to mention is that I believe I am going to a wedding at some point, like the first week of May.
Oh,
Soren's getting married.
No, I'm actually seeing one of my people at work that I work with. He's the fried cook at a golf course. He's getting married, so it'll be
Sick.
an interesting little party I get to go to.
But I see some dance
I'm already requesting some songs, so maybe I might request LMFAO Party Rockin'.
There we go.
And
There it is.
also
Oh.
some,
There it
Run it
is.
back, Soren.
also maybe some Come Sail Away by Styx. So we'll have to see what we'll have to see what I can think of.
It's gonna be 10 p.m. and Soren's gonna be requesting all divorced dad rock.
I agree with it. It's not a
Well,
bad-
it
No,
is,
it's a
yeah.
great song. It's a great song. I love that genre.
Oh, it is. Of course.
Thank you, Soren.
Yeah, of course, guys. Thank you.
that's all.
All right, let's wrap this up as we always do with the weekly picks. So this is a first for our weekly picks, I will say. So Corey's still up top, but he's not here. So in spirit, we all won last week with the first game of the Tokyo series. Wow, what a surprise! The loaded Dodgers won a baseball game. But we're gonna stick with baseball. But this is the first time we're doing something like this. Obviously, with us having all different fandoms, we are going to pick each of our team's opening day result, with it coming up on Thursday. So for me and Soren, we'll be rocking with the Phillies, Cam with the Tigers, Jack with the Pirates, Corey with the Blue Jays, and JD with the Mets. So JD, with your New York Mets, with the new $750 million man facing off against the Houston Astros, what will the result be?
Okay, so I want you guys to stick with me because I'm gonna get to this game before. But I gotta want a full circle moment here. Okay, just stick
Okay.
with me.
Okay.
I'll make sense. It'll make sense at the end. So last year Juan Soto arrived to New York, but it was the other team, and he played his first game in that uniform against the Astros in Houston. So it's the same situation this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then Clay Holmes, who pitched for the Yankees last year, was their closer. He got to save that game with the help of Juan Soto's arm from right field throwing out a runner to prevent the game from being tied. Also, Juan Soto had one hit, an RB, which was an RBI and 2 walks. And like I said, with Clay Holmes with the save. So this year, Clay Holmes and Juan Soto have now joined the other New York team, my Mets, in Queens, but they will be taking on the Astros again on the road. So I think Soto will announce his rival with 2 hits instead of 1 that he had with the Yankees because the Mets are better than the Yankees, so I got to go with 1 extra hit. So Soto will have 2 hits. Clay Holmes is starting the game now, so he's now no longer a closer; he's a starter. I think he will go out there and pitch very, very well from the Mets. And then also, I think the new guy, not new guy, new contract man as well, Pete Alonso, with no pressure on him anymore, will go deep later in the game. They will be losing 5-3. I think a 3-run homer will put them over the edge to get them to win 6-5 and have Edwin Diaz get his first save of the year. And I won't say the words; I'll just say the letters: LFGM.
That's bleep and go Mets. Okay, look, Cam and I would love that for fantasy.
Yeah, I would.
Edwin Diaz save, Pete Alonso homer for me. Huge fantasy implications.
Yep.
All right, Cam, with your Detroit Tigers facing off against the reigning, defending, the best team in baseball currently at 2-0 in Los Angeles.
Yep.
First off, going to be a great matchup. Tariq Skubal versus Blake Snell.
Mhm.
What do you got?
So, I don't want to spoil anything for the rest of the picks, but unfortunately, I will be the only person fading my pride and joy. Not pride and joy. One of my favorite teams. But I have the Dodgers winning this game 5-3. And now, it's like opening day. It's like, man, you want your team to win. But I think a 5-3 loss to the Dodgers in Los Angeles is honestly would be like a good thing. Realistically, in the long run, I think the things that I just want to look for in this game, I want to see Riley Green get back to that form he had in the middle of July. I want to see Skubal once again prove that he can be a runner-up for MVP. I mean, there's so many things that I just want to see go right. It doesn't even need to be the scoreboard. I want a good, hard-fought baseball game where the Dodgers take it away with Ohtani doing something magical. So I think a 5-3 loss for the Tigers would be an okay thing. So I got the Dodgers winning 5-3 against the Detroit Tigers on opening day in the U.S. Opening day in the U.S.
Yes, that's correct.
And on their run to the first MLB team to be 162-0.
How long? Before we keep going, how long do we think it is till they actually lose? Do we think they make it to like double
They'll
digits
lose
before?
one game this.
Oh, you think so? Okay, I was about to say, do we think they break? Do they get to double digits or no?
Let me look at their
I
schedule real quick.
I hope
I
not.
really hope not.
I hope not.
I can't take them already. I don't know if you guys seen Frank the Tank's crash out video already. Of the Dodgers. We don't want to see it when they're 15-0, so they got to lose this weekend.
Exactly. All right, we'll move on. Mr. Biggs, a fan of the Pittsburgh Pirates, with the man who gave the greatest celebration once finding out he was going to be the opening day starter. Paul Skeens, so excited, Jack.
Really?
Will the excitement... No, absolutely not. Will the excitement pay off against the Miami Marlins?
I think it will. Cam said he's still fade him, and I 100% would have faded the Pirates if they weren't playing the Miami Marlins. Somebody has to win the game. I have the Pirates winning 3-1. Paul Skeens versus Sandy Alcantara. It'll be a great pitching matchup. And neither team can hit the ball particularly well. But I think the Pirates are going to eke out something. O'Neal Cruz, I think, will have a phenomenal season. Hopefully 30-30. I think he'll get a dinger. Reynolds hopefully start his season off strong. But yeah, Pirates eke a 3-1 win out in a very bad game of baseball start of the season.
All right. Paul Skeens and the Buccos stay perfect through the first game. All right, we'll go with the Toronto Blue Jays hosting the Baltimore Orioles in Corey's pick. Jose Barrios versus Zach Eflin. Corey has the Baby Jays winning 5-3. He believes Barrios will lead them to the first win of the season. He mentioned earlier about Bo Bichette wanting to bounce back, and he thinks he will start strong. Vladito will go 2 for 4. He says the bullpen will be okay, ? All I can do is believe they start with a W at home. So for Corey's sake, I'm going to say let's hope that happens. All right, Soren, for us, rocking with the Phils. Wheeler versus Gore, opening day, 4:05 on Thursday. What do you got?
I have the Phillies in this game winning 6-2, and that hopefully I would like to see a JT Realmuto good performance, along with maybe a Bryce Harper home run to start opening day, just to get the Phillies fans really excited. So
Yeah. Usually the
and
stars
also
come out,
maybe
Soren.
Wheeler could do some pretty
Yeah.
good pitching.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'm fired up for it too. I'm in the similar boat as you. Have 4-run differential, except I have the Phillies by a final score of 7-3. Yeah, no, I really think Harper going back to DC. Every time he goes to DC, he balls out. So I could definitely see him going crazy. It is interesting though with a lefty like Mackenzie Gore on the mound, what the lineup will look like. Will Rojas be getting the start over Marsh? So I'm curious to see what the lineup will look like on opening day. But I feel confident. I think the Phillies will get to Gore a little bit. I think they'll kind of get the majority of the runs against the bullpen, though. I think Gore will probably allow about 3 across 5. And then the Phillies will have like a big 6th or 7th inning. Wheels does what he does best. Wheels and deals. Yeah, go Phils. Let's start off 1-0. Let's start the new year in the right way, boys. So to recap, Cam, the only one fading his team. The Tigers will be defeated by the soon-to-be 162-0 Dodgers. The Buccos in an ugly, runless game with the always super emotional Paul Skeens. Soren and I are going with the Phils, picking up decent wins. JD with a very specific outcome for the Mets, and Corey rocking with the Jays. I would say let's hope we're all right, but I'm hoping for your sake, Cam, you're wrong.
Honestly, it's a win-win. a win-win
Sure.
either way.
Sure. Either move up in the standings or potentially move up in the standings, or your team wins. So
Yeah.
it's a little reverse psychology. Boys, we got anything before we wrap this one up?
I would like to say something real quick.
Couldn't even finish the sentence. Soren, go ahead.
I want
Urgent.
to talk to you, Vinny, about what the situation is for Garrett Stubbs.
Sure.
We didn't really mention that a whole lot, but I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on that.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, Garrett Stubbs was sent to AAA at the end of last week. Stubbs had come over to the Phillies in 2021. Chief Master, or 2022, I believe. Chief Master in the locker room, always on aux, big party guy, overalls, the whole nine. Like, great locker room guy. Performance on the field defensively was very solid. Offensively, a lot left to be desired. So coming into spring, they knew that the backup catching spot, there would be a battle between Stubbs and Rafael Marchand. The reason why Stubbs got sent down, Soren, is because in Marchand's contract, he no longer had any options down to AAA. Now, again, this is something that Stubbs knew coming into spring training, and when he had the conversation with Dombrowski and Tomper and Preston Mattingly, he knew that he would have had to have an absurd spring, or Marchand would have had to really struggle or have gotten hurt, something along those lines. It's purely, and he understands the business side of it, he purely knows that this was a business move. And now if Marchand is terrible or gets hurt, Stubbs is going to be the first one called up, and he is well aware of that. But purely because of the contract situation and with the amount of options that Stubbs had compared to Marchand, that is why Stubbsy got sent down. Yeah, it sucks because he is such a good locker room guy. He is someone who everyone loves seeing dancing around, having a good time, walks out to Frank Sinatra, like just such a good dude. But it's purely the business side of baseball for this move, unfortunately.
Yeah, I could see that, and going based off of negotiation, I get that. But from my dad's perspective, he actually likes Stubbs.
Well, it's not, Soren, again, it's not about them not
right.
liking Stubbs. It's about Marchand not having any options down to the farm system, and that would mean they'd have to put him on waivers, and that means someone else would be able to claim him off of waivers. And I read an article the day that Stubbs got sent down, and Dombrowski had said that they get a lot of calls about Marchand. Like there's enough teams that call about Marchand. They weren't confident they would be able to bring him back if he had gone on waivers, because there was a chance he could have cleared waivers and they could have gotten him back, but they just didn't have confidence that would be the scenario. So to make sure that they could keep both catchers, that was the deciding factor on sending Stubbs down. All right. Anything else before
I
we go?
actually do have one.
Okay.
That I do want to highlight on. The Oakland Coliseum is alive and well. Did anyone hear about this story?
No.
So, the city of Oakland recently got, which is considered the Division II, the USL Championship for soccer. They finally got a soccer club in this great sports city of Oakland. Now, their first two games, they started off, they lost both of them. But then they have their home opener at the Oakland Coliseum. It was originally set that they were going to sell about 13,000 tickets, from what I'm reading. They increased demand, and the fans sold it out. They sold 26,575 tickets for a Division II professional soccer game in the city of Oakland, and they lost 2-1. And the ticket demand has already grown for Game 2. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the city of Oakland. Truly one of the most deserving sports cities in the entire country, continuously getting screwed over, but at any opportunity that they can get to support a team that reps Oakland on a badge, they will always show out and support, no matter the current state of the club. So I wanted to just shout that out, because that is something that I saw this over the weekend, and I was like, man, it really makes me angry that all these teams are continuously screwing over Oakland. And then the funny thing enough, they got a home game on March 29th at the end of this week. against the city that is ripping everything away from
Las
against
Vegas.
the Las Vegas Lights FC.
Let's go, man. That's
So,
that's awesome. That
in the
Oakland still sells out.
in the Coliseum, but I'm glad the Coliseum is still alive and doing well. And this fans, all like a lot of the photos from this game, like it's all dudes in raid. Like there's a couple of guys who started buying like the jerseys for this team, but it's a lot of guys in athletics uniforms, a lot of guys in Raiders uniforms. But the city once again continues to show why they are arguably one of the best sports cities that has been completely ripped apart by owners.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shout out Oakland, man.
Yep. But I wanted to give.
No,
him a
I
shout out.
love that shout out. That's huge. JD, everyone else has been having one last thing. Do you have one last thing before we wrap this up?
Just to be happy it's baseball season, and I know everyone's not the happiest about March Madness in the sense of seeds not being like the higher seeds not really making it too far. But I think it just shows how good this year the top seeds are. I think everyone just needs to relax and enjoy the high. This is going to be the highest level of basketball. I think we'd rather see that than maybe a 12 seed get absolutely killed by, I don't know, whoever, a 1 seed, 2 seed, or 3 seed. We're going to see the best basketball possible. And I think we just need to sit back, enjoy the weekend because it starts Thursday. Opening day starts Thursday. So next Monday, we're going to have a ton to talk about. And hopefully Corey's okay. I'm not really sure what happened, but hopefully he's good and he's listening. And I just want to sit back, relax, and enjoy. That's it.
Yes, sir. All right. That's going to do it for this edition of He Knows Ball. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. As always, go Phils, too. Go Phils on Thursday. JD Mets, Cam Tigers, Jack's Pirates, Corey's Blue Jays, Soren as Alley, Cam to my left, JD in the island of Staten. I'm Vincent Goldschmidt.